And as I think you all remember, tonight we're going to be discussing our church seal. So, whether your connection to the organization goes back to the 1860s or the 2020s, I'm certain that the church seal, which features the lion, the lamb, and the child, holds meaning for you personally. So this evening, we're going to be exploring the history of this image, central to our faith community's focus on peace. Although the church seal design itself dates back to the 1870s when the reorganization was headquartered in Plano. This year, actually, 2026, marks the 100th anniversary of the seal being used as the official church logo, also, not just a seal used on legal documents, which was its original purpose. So, for our spiritual practice this week, we'll be using Visio Divino, the practice of sacred seeing, as we contemplate what the church seal means to each of us individually. So we're going to begin by spending a few minutes viewing the current church seal and logo, considering how it influences our lives. But before, and Mags, you want to go back to that first slide for a minute? Because what I'm going to do is we're going to be going through several components, but I'm going to sort of run you through what the different components will be, and then we'll start that. So initially, we're going to be looking and considering the current modern church seal with some reflection questions. And then we're going to watch a video lecture given by former Apostle Andrew Bolton on the history of the seal. This lecture was part of one of the many series offered online by the Community of Christ Historic Sites Foundation. And as a reminder, all past lectures are available on the Foundation's webpage, which is historicsitesfoundation.org, for use in your congregation or just if you want to brush up on your church history. Then following the lecture, we will once again share in Visio Divino as we view the original 1870s seal, now that we will have a better understanding of its historic significance. After which we'll take a few minutes to share how and if our reactions were different to the historic versus current seal. And finally, to conclude our evening, we'll have an opportunity to share examples of the church seal, old and new, that are important to you, beginning with Janice Bowling, who will remind us of the story, the history of the carved wood seal hanging yet today in the Old Stone Church in Plano, Illinois. And if you have any examples that you could share on, would like to share online rather than just hold up, you can put those either in the chat or email them to Seth at planostonechurch at gmail.com. That's planostonechurch at gmail.com, and he can show those at that point. So just to review very quickly, we're going to start out with a Visio Divino spiritual practice of considering the current church seal. Then we're going to watch Andrew Bolton's video. Then we're going to consider the historic church seal. Then we're going to have an opportunity to discuss sort of the similarities, the differences that we find in these church seals and how we react to them. And then finally, share examples. I think it'll be clear, especially with the prompts from the PowerPoint, where we are and what the next step is. But we'll be giving you, some verbal prompts also. So now, let us enter into a period of holy contemplation as we consider our current church seal. So what memories come to mind? What emotions does it evoke? And what actions are you prompted to make?
For emotions, I have a peaceful, serene feeling when I look at it.
Janice, we're going to be sharing our thoughts at a later point. This is
Okay,
the time of silent contemplation.
okay.
Karen, do we want to move on? Yes.
Andrew is the author of a number of papers on Latter-day Saint history, published in the Journal of Mormon History, Dialogue, John Whitmer Historical Association Journal, and Restoration Studies. He has coordinated the work at Community of Christ in Asia and served as an apostle for 9 years, from 2007 through 2016, which included overseeing congregations in 10 countries. The title of Andrew's lecture tonight is The History of the Church Seal, War, Peace, and Visual Theology. So thank you, Andrew, for taking time this evening to share with us. I'll turn the floor over to you, as we are all more than ready to hear the story and witness the diverse art behind the Community of Christ Church Seal.
Thank you, Barb, and thank you everyone for being online. We look forward to a good time together. So, the history of the Church Seal, War, Peace, and Visual Theology. I want to also talk about the power of the Church Seal for our mission of peace on this 6th of April, 2023. Here are the official Church seals through the years, from 1874 to 2001, and the current seal. Its visual theology is the most common artwork in our holy places, whether it be the temple doors or, in my little congregation in England, in Leicester, a plaque on the wall. The church seal is important for us. It's stained glass windows, as like in Denton, England, near Manchester, or Enfield, London, or Grand Valley in Ontario, Canada. Or in this case, on the outside of a building, a church building, in the Westerijn congregation in Friesland in the Netherlands. And Breda here is Dutch for peace. It's translated into Spanish. Here, thanks to my daughter-in-law, we have it in Tahitian and French. A quick trip to the Philippines. This is Jennifer de Guzman, a dynamic mission center president. And these are the doors to the Simambaan congregation. One of the things we decided was that all our congregations would have these peace doors. And for 2 years, Jewel and I, with baby Matthew, when we were serving in Tokyo, Japan, would look at this church seal in our sanctuary in Tokyo. And if you look at this character here, it means harmony. You see, it's balanced. And this character here has a square here, which means mouth, and it means equal mouth. So this is justice, enough food for everybody. This is harmony. So in Chinese, the characters are reversed. This is also in the same building in Tokyo and with a Japanese child. If we go to Seoul, Korea, you can see this version of the church seal. The Australian delegation to IYF in 2014 had this church seal on their T-shirt. Bit outrageous, don't you think, to have a kangaroo, a wallaby, and a koala bear. But the Des Moines State IYF team had this. I think this is perhaps the very best. And then I want to say a little bit about our very good friend Beck Tilbury, a wonderful member of the Leicester, England congregation, who's a cancer survivor. She said this: "The Holy Spirit is a blanket of comfort and a shield of protection." And you'll see on her shield, she drew this, is the church seal. And let's go to Utah to hear Brittany Mengelson's story. She comes from an LDS family. This is her grandparents' tombstone, and they're LDS, we're LDS. And on the back of that tombstone is the honoring of her grandfather. And if you look very carefully, you'll see the church seal. Now, what's the story behind how a church seal crept onto the tombstone of an LDS sergeant in the US Army in World War II is a story worth finding out. And then if we go to Nigeria, the global south, we have a choir dressed in an outfit which has the church seal all over it. And we're going to hear their music. They're going to be singing "Spirit of God like a fire is burning." If we go to India, we celebrated 50 years of the church's presence in India in 2015. It's Golden Jubilee. You see the church seal and this artwork over the subcontinent of India. This is the male part of the gathering that day, very sober, reverent-looking, devoted males. The women, however, are a little bit wild. I think somebody got them to cheer. And there's 15,000 gathered here. This is the biggest gathering in the history of the Community of Christ. I was at Stone Church, and this biker had this wonderful church seal and message, and was kind enough to let me photograph it. And still in Stone Church, we have this wonderful stained glass window. So the church seal. Beloved, when the presidency let the church know that they were considering a redesign around 2000, they were inundated with 13,000 letters, phone calls, and emails. It was the biggest postbag the first presidency has ever had. Don't mess with the church seal was, I think, the message. The first time I met the church seal was in Germany. I was a young adult. I was born Roman Catholic, grew up Roman Catholic, and met somebody on a boat who was a member of Community of Christ, John Menzies. And he introduced me to the Springer congregation near Hanover. The church seal, with freedom, the German word for peace, was on the pulpit. It was healing for me to meet a people who were more loving than my own family. It was healing because my dad had been a British soldier for 7 terrible years in World War II. And it was healing that these young people were really interested in peace. The song that the New Seekers were singing was something that you heard in their homes. So I've told you my story about the church seal. When you see the church seal, what do you feel? Can you put that in the chats? And Peter and Barb, or Peter, will just let us have a sample of your own feelings about the church seal.
Nancy Hadsel shares, I feel like I found my church home. Family from Tanya Cooper. Joan Guthrie says hope. Catherine Grabow says pride. Oh, it jumped. Tom Weber says a universal peace. Cheryl says, when I see the seal, I know that all are welcome everywhere. Rock says friends. Dennis Wise says dream of the kingdom. Don Waster says unity. From Teresa Ress, family. The seal means family. Steve Thompson says it's prophetic to me. It is a uniting factor for me with the church around the world. And Janice or Janice Foley says, I feel, oh, it moved on me again. I feel peace. Janet Irby says aspiration.
So thank you for that sample. So let's now look at the story of the church seal. I want to take you to 106 years ago, to April the 6th, 1917. April the 6th, 1917 was a Good Friday. What happened this day? It was the day that Congress authorized American entry into World War I. The war had already been going about 3 years, but the entry of the United States into the war was decisive. But let's look a little bit about World War I. We've just passed the centennial of that terrible war. It started by accident. The driver took the wrong turning and turned down the street. Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old Serb nationalist, were in Sarajevo in Bosnia, had a gun and had been looking for an opportunity to kill or assassinate Archduke Ferdinand. And he did this and the spouse of the Archduke. It launched a month later a terrible First World War. What do historians make of this war? John Keegan, a British military historian, right of center, said, these are his words, his opening words of his book on World War I. The First World War was a tragic and unnecessary conflict. And in fact, this summarizes the consensus of historians left and right about World War I. It was tragic and unnecessary. It was started by 15 to 45 men. It was billed as the war to end all wars, said H.G. Wells, the British novelist. And President Woodrow Wilson used this as a slogan to ginger American support. Matt Naylor, a church member from Australia, who's amazingly the president and CEO of the American National World War I Museum in all places, Kansas City, had a grandfather who was a British soldier in that conflict. He has his kit on his desk. He says it was the founding catastrophe of the 20th century. World War I led to the Second World War, to the Holocaust, to the Cold War, to 9/11. The swirling, unintended consequences of violence continued reverberating through the 20th century into the 21st century. So I want to explore the church seal as a response to violence. And I want to understand Joseph III's response to violence. You know the story of the assassination of his dad and uncle Hiram, Carthage jail, the 27th of June, 1844. You may not know the story that when the body was brought to the mansion house in Nauvoo, Emma collapsed 3 times before she was able to get to the coffin to see her dead husband. How did that mark Joseph Smith III, only 12 years old at the time? I think it marked him deeply. When the saints left Nauvoo for the great trek west to the Salt Lake Basin, he was given 3 gifts. Brigham Young gave him a pistol, a friend gave him a large Bowie knife. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Neil K. Whitney, a bishop in the church, gave him a desk. And you can see this desk in the red brick store in Nauvoo. It was this desk, this gift, that Joseph Smith used most of all. He was affected by the American Civil War, and as a 30-year-old, he gave a pro-North speech and persuaded, I think, 18 young men to enlist. This wasn't popular amongst fiancés, wives, mothers, and he was severely criticized by church people as well. Charles Derry was one of his critics, otherwise a great fan of his. And this was the only war speech Joseph III was to make. He embarked on a peace direction. He said, peace is eminently our mission. He forgave Thomas Sharp, who was the editor of a newspaper that didn't do us any favors. And Thomas Sharp, for sure, was involved in the assassination plot of his dad and uncle. In 1913, it forms a section in the Doctrine and Covenants, he described the Council of 12 as apostles of peace, life and salvation. And his last writing, just before he died, was an editorial in the Saints Herald supporting US neutrality in World War I. So Joseph Smith III, after a faltering start, took us in a strong peace direction. And part of that peace direction was the innovation of the church seal. This has been the church seal since 1874, its basic design. The decision was made in Plano, Illinois, as they gathered in conference in 1874. Jason Briggs, president of the Council of 12, Elijah Banter, a member of the presiding bishopric, and Joseph III, a member of the First Presidency, met as a committee to decide the church seal that morning on April the 8th. This is a part of the minute that they respectfully submitted to the conference that afternoon. The conference supported this design and move to have the church seal. What's behind the church seal? Why a church seal? Rick Collins, a church member from Australia, suggests that it was all to do with the Mountain Meadows massacre, where Mormon friends attacked an innocent wagon train on its way to California, where I am at the moment, by the way, and killed 120 people. Justice was not done. Immediately, Brigham Young delayed things. The Civil War delayed things, but by 1874, it was headline news that 9 men were indicted for this crime. It was a big story. And the church seal was to say the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not the same. It has a peace mission. So I find that very interesting. If we look closely at the church seal, we have the palm tree. The church had been reestablished in French Polynesia. And we had the 3 continents, Europe, North America, and Australia. Where's the inspiration for the church seal? We're going to look at this passage from Isaiah. Peter.
A shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord.
So this is describing the coming of the Messiah. What's the result when the Messiah comes?
The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den.
So you have predator and prey living together in peace and a world safe for children. The passage ends with this verse: "They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea." This gives us a direction for our missionary work. The church seal takes us to the nonviolence of the peaceful one. But how did it enter our tradition? I suggest that "The Spirit of God like a fire is burning," that hymn by W. Phelps, is the reason. Verse 6 in Emma's Kirtland hymnal has this verse, with the first line ending with lion. It should have been wolf, but it's used lion because the third line ends with Zion, and lion and Zion rhyme. And the saints knew this hymn. It was kind of the anthem of the whole movement, and the RLDS certainly would have sung this, including this verse. We dropped this verse, which is a pity, but Randall Pratt and I reworked it, and it's now in verse 3 in our new hymnal. But there's more from first Isaiah about visions of peace. "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore," from Isaiah 2. This statue is outside the United Nations building in New York. I saw it as a 19-year-old. It was inspiring. And then in Isaiah 9, we have these words: "Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and he will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." I can hear the Messiah choir sing this wonderful scripture. But Prince of Peace, now I have a confession. No member of the royal family in Britain has been a Prince of Peace. They've always been monarchs of war. So to call the coming Messiah the Prince of Peace was to indicate God had something radically different in mind. So let's look at the church seal now in our history. For the first few years, it was just used for legal documents. There are 3 stamps, one in England, one in Britain, one in Canada, and one in the United States for legal work. F.M. Smith in 1915 became prophet president of the church, and one of his first actions was to commission Henry Smith, an architect, to do a new church seal that culminated in this 1919 version. Of course, this is in the midst of World War I. And he, in 1920, echoed the words of his father: "Let the apostles move out, taking to the peoples of the world the message of peace." We have here the idea of the message of apostles taking a message of peace to the world. So from the 1920s, the use of the church seal became much more public. The church seal begins to be used on the letterhead and church publications. If you look at the auditorium next time you're visiting, you'll see it on the outside of the building and also on the inside. The church seal becomes the artwork of the church, the logo of the church. And I don't think we would have a temple dedicated to the pursuit of peace, reconciliation, and healing of the spirit, inspired by the witness and redeemer of the world, were it not for the church seal as visual theology, beloved in our sanctuaries and on our publications.
So now that we have learned something
Andrew,
about the history of the church seal, let us once again silently consider these 3 questions as we view the church seal as it appears even today in the Plano Stone Church. Following a time of reflection, we will have an opportunity to share. So here are the church seals, the original and our church seal today, with the same questions. This is an opportunity for you to share your reactions to either one, or also how and if your reactions are different to these questions as you look at these two different church seals. So please share your thoughts.
I remember about 1958 when the auditorium conference chamber was finished, that first part of the completion, that there was a church seal on each side of the rostrum, and there still is, of course. But for me, that really put it front and center every time I was in conference, and every time I was there for a concert, every time I was there for whatever reason. It was really a visual thing, and it really, I think, inspired me. I think I'd seen it before on publications, but it wasn't always there. But there was a very large visual reminder every time I entered the auditorium of the importance of our church seal as a peace emblem. And I always value that memory.
That's great, Charlie. Thank you.
At reunion in Utah at Camp Redcliffe, maybe around 2016, we asked the children to reimagine the church seal. And Milo, my son, and Mariah, one of the kids in the congregation, came up with a seal. So what we did is we printed the child and the word peace, but they were able to, out of clay, recreate the images on either side. And what Milo and Mariah came up with, and I'm always reminded of this, is a snake and a cricket. And for them at camp there in, in the mountains of Utah and in the desert, that was an image that, of two enemies, or at least of one creature at risk of an enemy, of a predator that reconciled and it pieced together. And for them, that was a way of imagining what that might look like. So I'm always reminded of that. I wish I had taken a picture to share with you, but all I can share is just my memory of it.
Looking at that third question, what actions are you prompted to take when you see either one of these church seals? And are they different? Are your reactions to that question different from the church seal today and when you understand the history of the original 1870s church seal? Any thoughts on how it might affect your actions on a daily basis? I know personally, I have always been one who pursued peace, wanted to pursue peace, both in my personal life and in the world. And the church seal certainly prompts me to do that, to be a peacemaker and be a church truly of peace and justice. Any other thoughts or initial reactions when we went through the Visio Divina for each of the individual seals? Any reactions? I know, Janice, you were going to make a comment initially, and I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, that's fine. No, I was just saying, I just feel this peaceful and serene feeling. And then for me, what actions I'm prompted to make is I try to help and be kind, and just trying to share that, and just makes you just want to try to keep being as kind and just sharing the thought of just caring about others and just spreading it, spreading the peace, spreading the love.
Well, and being in my current mission center, I know that you do that, Janice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other reactions, either to one of these three questions for either of the seals or other reactions you have had over time before we start sharing examples of the church seal?
I did, but my dog keeps barking. So,
That's
but
Wednesday.
so right now, like carrying an anti-war message is something that was brought up like during the presentation, and something that kind of I was aware of, and I'm thinking about in the modern day context the importance of putting out anti-war messaging and renewing my, I guess, commitment to it, and understanding it as not just understanding it as um, not just in my mind as like the right thing to do, but almost like a religious obligation on top of that. Even when it may not exactly be popular. Like, for example, I have a lot of veterans in my family, and sometimes they might think something they participated in was just, but I must hold that, I like looking at the past, moving into the future, because the past, that, as you said, the founding catastrophe of the 20th century, it's all linked together. I have support for the anti-war movement then. I've learned from the anti-war movement then, and what I've learned here in Community of Christ, to bring that into the future. And I can do that while being kind and understanding, but it's a religious obligation I have to address it in the here and now.
I look at it, and there's a couple of times I've been in an unfamiliar town, and you turn around on a corner and there's the church seal. And I've had that happen a couple of times where I didn't expect it, and it just kind of takes your breath away. And so much more than just even our name, and the name would too. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but just to have that seal and in an unexpected place, and just it just gives joy.
Yeah.
So I look at the seal and remember that.
Well, as Sally said, the seal gives me joy, but it also gives me hope, especially in very trying times. Sometimes hope is hard to come by. And when I see the seal with, not only the iconography of peace, but the word peace there, it gives me hope and it keeps me going.
So I want to push back a little bit, because I've been thinking a lot lately about the story of the church seal and how it gained palm trees. We talked about it a lot on the bus tour last year, and how the palm trees represented, and Andrew alluded to this, the palm trees represented the church's establishment in Tahiti. And it was a nod to that, connecting saints who had been lost for however long, because the church had effectively ended in Polynesia for a long time, because there was schisming, there was a lot of stuff happening near where the church was founded, and so those saints were sort of disenfranchised for a long time. And making those connections again and drawing in that symbol of the palm tree and what it means to not only people in Tahiti, but in so many parts of the world, the colonized world especially, the church is part of a tradition of colonizing. But as a church that stands up and says we want to be peaceful, we want to promote peace, I think it's really great that they have that incorporated in early on. And then I look at the newer church seal, and it's a very modern, it's very it's taken out the palm tree. It's taken out that symbol of inclusivity. It's a white child. It's hard to feel as strongly um about it. And at the same time, like I want to be positive about it. It does because it is so simple. It's a good opportunity to make it your own. And I loved the examples that Andrew included of how the church seal um, has been riffed on, I guess, and how people have changed the animals, or they've changed the child, what the child's wearing, their hair, their skin, the background changes. We have all of these things. People feel encouraged to make the seal their own, which I think is really cool. I just also like officially it says one thing, and it's a challenge, I think, maybe to own it where you are. Um, but it's giving me some complicated feelings because I feel I miss that intentional nod and connection that was built in with the church abroad. And when I look at the seal today, um, it's it's kind of like, okay, it's minimal. I do really appreciate his those samples. I think it would be really cool to have a gallery for people to see and take inspiration from um with how people have incorporated it into their lives. But anyway, I'm feeling kind of mixed right now because I really liked that story and I think it's a great story. I kind of am sad that it's no longer part of the seal.
Well, Mags, I think that is a fantastic uh, transition segue to our last opportunity to share. If you want to go to the next slide. This is very foundational. This original seal is really who we were, who we have been becoming, and hopefully who we will be in the future. We're going to start out uh, with Janice talking about this specific wood carved seal that is today still in the Plano Stone Church and sort of its history. And then I am going to have us go straight to Barb, who's going to share another rendition of this original seal. So, Janice, do you want to talk a little bit about how this wood carving came about and the prominence it plays in the center of the Plano Stone Church sanctuary?
Sure. Rick Young, he actually hand carved the church seal out of wood. And then Seth has put a picture of it on where people can see it. I think it looks beautiful. And Rick was a son of Dwayne and Betty Young, and Dwayne was an elder of the church. And then he has a sister and brother, and the youngest, the brother, is a priest. And so at the time, I really loved the church seal, but I didn't really get to know a lot about it. But then when we were starting to have the storytelling, I wanted to find out more about it. And I didn't know how to reach Rick, but I did know how to reach his brother, John. And so John gave me some information. And so Rick was given a small picture cut out of an old Saints Herald of the church seal. And when he was not working, he kept his work covered and asked his family not to look at it. At one point, Rick confessed that he would not be able to make the letters around the edge stand up off the background and he would have to recess them. Yet when the carving was finally complete and some of us were allowed to view it, the letters were not recessed. When asked why, his reply was, "The Lord wouldn't allow me to do it that way." And John said there wasn't really that much to really say about it, other than Rick just really loved the work of working on it, and the family was excited to see it. I'm so glad he did, because I know every time I was going to the Stone Church, I would admire and really love viewing it.
That's a wonderful story, and it's a wonderful reminder of those early days. Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
And Barb, do you want to show us a modern rendition of the original seal?
Sure. So we, the Community of Christ Historic Sites Foundation, just created some fans to keep ourselves cool during the reunion season. And we love that old seal with the palm tree. And this is what the little fans look like.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to top the Plano seal, but we're going to be encouraging the kids to color some of the imagery. So I think that's what Karen was talking about.
Make sure that they see what's written around the seal.
Your story is church history.
Yes.
And it's nice and cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Barb.
Sure.
I know that Seth has some examples to show, but do other people also?
Well, so the only ones that I have, this is just a quick Google search. Some of these won't be appropriate. Mags, I appreciate what you were saying about the loss of the palm tree. We do have the one seal that has the globe behind it, or so maybe there's some connection there. I love the rainbow one as well. There's some really good ones that are out there that people have created. I'm looking to check and see if my email, if anybody has sent in any additional.
I have that rainbow one on my car.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
It's fading, and so I'm worried I need to get a new one, but I don't know where to get them.
Well, maybe we need to make some more.
I think you need to talk to Harmony.
Yeah, maybe Harmony can get us some more.
I think, was it for Harmony, or did they get those from, it was sort of an unofficial thing. I think I saw those floating around. Maybe it was Salt Lake Congregation. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess we'll need to check. We'll figure it out. I don't know if I can share one other thing, Karen. One thing that I was struck with during our conversation is that the seal is a triune community. And I love Andrew's observation, if he's right, about the Spirit of God, that we get a lion, not a wolf, because lion rhymes with Zion. And so you have triune for the God, for Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and Zion and triune God. I mean, all of it is just beautiful, all that sense of community as an expression of peace.
Yeah. But before I heard Andrew share that, I had not made the connection either, because I knew that it wasn't exactly, parallel to the Isaiah scripture, but that makes perfect sense. So I think that that's pretty spot on.
What I would like to do is look at other Christian religious imagery around those verses and see, do lions for other Christians, is it a lion and lamb as well?
Yeah.
But I think he is onto something with it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any emails of other images, so.
Well, Barb, I know that you had shared actually, well, two things. There was a Historic Sites Foundation Facebook page at the time of, actually, I think it was on April 6th, where there were several examples that people shared of church seals. So you might, those of you who are on Facebook and subscribe to the Historic Sites Foundation Facebook page, you can go back. Those would be fairly easy to find. So there were some great examples. Do you remember what some of those were, Barb?
Just remember they were from all around the world. Lots of stained glass and painted images, but I'm sorry, I can't think of any.
That was April 6th, wasn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Also, do you have that pendant? Because I know you had a story about.
Yes, you had mentioned I should bring it along. I've got it here in my hand. It's um, one of one of my favorite pieces of jewelry. It's metal and it has the peace seal. And the reason I like it so much is it was given to me by a woman in my home congregation when I was young. Her name was Barbara O'Neill. And when I look at the seal, it's an image that has been there my entire life. And in wearing this particular one, I'm reminded of my home congregation and the people in my home congregation and the impact that they had on my upbringing as well as into adulthood. But Barbara O'Neill was significant in that she was a quiet wallflower that served as a teacher and made her way through the congregation in quiet but deeply meaningful ways. And so it's a reminder to me of the women who helped raise us children in this congregation. Um, and I just love it. So that's my story.
Thanks. Also, while you're on, Barb, Courtney just asked if there's some way that other folks can get a hold of those fans.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Or Courtney, did you have a specific uh, question about how many you would want or anything?
I mean, it would probably be easiest if there was just a file that we could print ourselves or something, but
Yeah, I'd be happy to get in touch with you and see how many you made, whether we need to send them to you or share with you the file and have them made on your own. Happy to get together.
great. I'll put my email in the chat for you.
Great.
While I'm here, I tried to send a link and it won't let me send a link, but talking about church seals, there's a woman in our congregation who crocheted an Afghan of the church seal as a gift for a baby blessing. And I found the Facebook post, but it's not public and there was no way for me to like share it with you guys. So no photo, but
Well, if you figure it out, we can send it out to everybody. We could email it out to everybody.
Take a screenshot, or I mean, we could even make you a co-host and have you just put
share
it
my
up.
screen of the Facebook post.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can figure out how to do that. Hold on.
While she looks at that, I want to share. I know time is running out, but I do have one more church seal to share. I carried this in my pocket every day in Afghanistan, right over my heart.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's special.
Yeah. Yes. Very special.
Courtney, did you find it? I might have to let me see. If you found it, you can share.
On that same note, though, I don't have a picture of it. Actually, maybe I could find it. Carrie Welch, Apostle Carrie Welch, when she's in my home congregation in Salem, Oregon, and when she was called to be apostle, she started working on a quilt. She's a big quilter, big time quilter, and she made a quilt of the seal, an interpretation of the seal for her office in Independence, and it's just beautiful. If you're friends with Carrie Welch, I'll try to see if I can spot a picture of it on Facebook and do the same as Courtney. Everybody
Oh, I
hangs out.
wish
Hey, look
Colleen
at
was
this.
on. She says she attends sometimes, and she's a quilter, and she attends in the Chicago Mission Center with Elgin. And oh, she would love to have heard that, and I'll share it with her.
I mean, this is the thing, is like we get the prompt beforehand to like think of church seals we've seen, and nobody can actually think of anything until you start sharing. That is the nature of folklore. We don't really understand or know to share things until it's like, oh yeah, I have that. I've seen that. I'll get a picture up.
The importance of community, which is the same as folklore. I love that, Megs. So, Courtney, any luck?
I posted the link in the chat, but I don't know if it will open for you because it might have been only for her friends. But if I'm able to share my screen or something, then I could share it with you.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to see if it opens. Yeah, it didn't for me.
I made you a co-host, so if you want to try to share.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We'll see if I can figure this out. Oh, here we go. Does that work?
It's whirring. It's trying.
Trying so hard.
There it did.
Okay.
Oh, that is great.
It is.
I don't know. I'm wondering if she saved the chart or something because as we were talking, I thought of that and I was like, oh, now I want to make it. So
Right.
I'll have to ask her, and if she did, I'll figure out if I can share it.
If not crochet, if there are knitters out there who would want a knitting pattern, that wouldn't be too hard to put together a knitting pattern too.
Yeah.
I do have Carrie's if we want to share Carrie's.
Okay.
Just off of their own, off of their pages. This is Carrie Welch's quilt.
Oh, wow.
Level.
That is amazing.
That is. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if she wins prizes or something, but she should because it is gorgeous.
Oh, it is.
And she obviously designed it herself.
Yeah, and we had a meeting together as a congregation to sort of, or it was a service where we sort of shared our like hidden talents, and that was her hidden talent, and she had all these quilts everywhere, and yeah, it was very impressive. I've done quilting to a point, but not like this, and I'm definitely inspired.
That is great. Thanks. Thanks for finding it, Megs.
No problem.
We're about at time, but if there is anyone else that has something to share, please go ahead.
I thought this was a very nice service. I mean, the storytelling of just talking has just been very nice.
Oh, great. And Janice, I noticed that when we were listening to Andrew's recording that you were on that initial lecture too.
Yeah. I attend when I can on things, yes.
Well,
like
just
the CIMM community crisis, yeah. I would love Barb to be on tomorrow for the lecture, but I do have with Elgin, I attend their study class, so I was kind of debating. But I thought at least I'll get to see it later.
well, just a reminder, the final lecture in the spring lecture series is tomorrow night. We'll be on the history of the auditorium.
Oh, I think it'll be great. I wish I could clone myself.
Okay. All right. If not, Megs, you want to go back to that last slide? And I know that John Charles is not here this evening.
Nope, I'm here now.
Oh, you are. Oh, great. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I joined a little bit late.
Okay. So would you like to tell us a little something about our next service?
Sure. So our next communion service will be on the first Wednesday of June. I forget if it's the Sunday before or after our service, but the lectionary reading in the Gospels is Jesus sending the disciples out into all the world to make disciples of all nations. And so our service will have that focus. We'll be focused on what it means to be an international community and the call to be a global family. That's what we'll focus on.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing all of you on June 3rd for our worship experience. And then our sharing time for storytelling in June. Wednesday Jones will be joining us. And it's great to have you with us tonight, Wednesday. Okay.
Great to be here.
Good night, everyone. Have a great week.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.